Hi everybody, Eric McCool here, Permagora.com. I'm here today with my friend Harold in San Antonio, Texas, and we're going to talk about a lot of things. We're going to start with Harold's story and how he got to where he is. Harold and I are buddies from back in the day, like what, 7 or 8 years ago. We worked in a, no, 9 years ago. We worked in a restaurant together, and we reconnected later, and it's a great story. But Harold, why don't you start off by telling us a little about yourself and how you went from being more just like an ordinary person in the system to someone who kind of went through an awakening and changed your life.
Absolutely, and thanks for having me.
Absolutely, yeah.
In deep gratitude. Wow, where to start? Okay. Again, I was just a regular person. My actual dream was to have my own body shop or a mechanic shop where it was all inclusive. That was my 3D. That was going to get me through life. And it was inspired by Fast and Furious. I wanted to be ludicrous. So that idea definitely got squashed and was questioned before my official spiritual awakening, because I knew at one point we were going to fly around everywhere. What am I going to do with all these old muscle cars and stuff? But anyway, to get back to what has led me to where I'm at now, I was going through a breakup with my 9-year-old's mom. She's 9 now. She was 4 at the time. And there was some stuff going on that I didn't necessarily agree with. As far as my daughter was concerned, my ex, she could do whatever she wanted. But the time that she was with her, I wanted her to kind of keep away from bringing new guys around. And it was just too soon. So needless to say, I actually went to sleep praying that night to no one in particular. I mean, I was crying. I was concerned for my daughter's emotional stability and her well-being, and so I cried and I just asked. I felt like I was in a crossroads, and so I, just sent the message out, I guess, to the universe as to someone just point me in the right direction. So it must have been the next day or the day after, no later than that. A wonderful person by the name of Joni Icelander gave me a call where I was working. We made alumni directories so people would call in to update their information. So I'm on the phone, we are having a great conversation, we get down to what she does for business, and she's a spiritual advisor and community, and clairvoyant, clairaudient, just gained all these, extrasensory abilities, and I was just like floored. I said, tell me more, and she just unloaded, about 3/4 of a page worth of information, people, books, subject matter, websites, nice. All kinds of stuff. So I went home that night and dove right into it because, mind you, at this time when the split up happened, I was getting my daughter for 1 full week, and then she would go with her mom for 1 full week, and it's been that way ever since. So that full week, I had nothing to do when I went home. The house was quiet, so I jumped on YouTube, as a lot of us do. That's a huge catalyst.
YouTube University.
Yeah, exactly. And, I did that for, an extended period of time and engulfed all this information, and stuff that's it's evolved. We went from learning about that we have maybe an ET race that's out there assisting us or has been hindering us, and we've got these controllers that have been pulling the strings and the buttons and all these things, creating wars, and fluoride and aluminum in our deodorant, and the pineal gland and spirituality, chakras, energy, all this amazing stuff.
Good overview.
Yeah, and went from that to starting to think that, what? If I trained and learned enough, I could actually turn into this Jedi and manipulate my reality. And, and so that leads into just meditation, being mindful, paying attention to my breath, paying attention to my actions, my thought process, my belief system, was pretty open even before this. I had a belief in a higher power, and I had a belief in, ETs. I used to watch a bunch of stuff on, extraterrestrials and, other beings, and just had an inkling of what was actually out there. And, having these puzzle pieces laid out on the table, but, I was only dealing with the corners.
Yeah.
The whole center, the whole meat and potatoes of the whole dish was just sitting there untouched. And so this just really brought all that to light, and I just learned so much, and started doing a lot of energy work and energy manipulation, and that was really cool. I honestly don't do that as much as I think I probably would like to.
Yeah,
but you really got to be in the moment to do that stuff, because you're really just letting spirit come through and take the movements over, and
Right.
you know, and I like to practice when you ever go out to the river and you're at a point where your feet can touch the bottom and you've got the water flowing through you from behind you and going through you, and you could sit there and learn how to move energy with the
I do the
river.
same thing. I
Yeah.
love that. I like to get my hands almost at surface level and run them right along that surface.
And you feel the current.
You can.
The
You can.
energy.
And it's tying our, I think that kind of practice it connects our conscious minds and our subconscious body to this other energy source that all life is emanating from. And it's that bridge between the conscious and the subconscious that's so important, because in our modern society, it's been severed.
Absolutely.
We've been isolated from our subconscious, and basically we're being manipulated, as you said, by people who have got this down to a science.
Yeah.
They're doing that.
They're very good at it.
They are, just like separating, the baby calf from the mama cow. They're separating us from our source energy so that we aren't empowered to be our fullest. That's a different topic, though. It's really cool that you talked about all that, and I like the idea of a practice. It sounds like you developed a practice after you had this awakening. You started doing something with your time that you weren't doing before.
Absolutely. Rituals are almost a must for me. As much as I can, when paying attention to my breath, that's a huge thing.
Yeah.
I think your breath with intention behind it is such a powerful thing that you can actually breathe through. And, it's kind of cool to jump on this real quick. It was a few weeks ago, maybe a month and a half ago. I was sitting at home and I just had this surge of energy. I was just in the moment. I guess I was meditating. I did a couple other things. But I had I guess you want to call it light language, star language, whatever, was coming through me. And I wouldn't be able to get into it now because it's really a higher vibrational state of being. And I can never, and I've tried, where I could just do it, and it's more with your breath. Mm-hmm. The language is with your breath. It's hardly any tones. It's more of like a...
You're feeling like a cadence and a language to it.
Yeah,
Can
absolutely.
you understand it and translate it at the time, or is it just sort of like...
No, it's almost just
through?
The intention is there, and when I was done, I cried. I had a feeling that I had connected with a part of myself that I was severed away from or taken, just don't remember, I guess,
right.
In a sense as well. I think that when we are born, our memory is just like wiped clean, and we shouldn't be sent on this karmic cycle. It's not a natural thing to have your memory completely wiped. Now, for those of us that chose it, it's an amazing challenge.
Yeah.
And maybe we didn't think it was going to be as tough and or difficult as it is, but a lot of us, I believe, have done this in other places, in other realms or whatnot. So we all come in with these special abilities and talents, and we come together with this symbiosis and harmony. And that's why a lot of us are finding each other right now. We're finding our soul family. So we're coming together so we can each work together, and we're connecting, and we're all little sparks of God, and as we come together, that light just explodes and ripples out through the universe and through all sentient beings, and everything that's around us, fish jumping through the water back there and whatnot, they can feel what's going on here.
Right.
Just this communication, this commune that we're going through right now with the audience that's at home, wherever they are, wherever you guys are at home, watching this, just being able to connect with everything that's around you, your breath, your intention, the leaves, the trees, the sun, to be able to sun gaze in that early part of the day and that later part of the day, to be aware of those things. Those are rituals for me, and just keeps me grounded, connected, kind of clears my inner space, and so that way my vibration and frequency is a direct reflection of that.
So a lot of people who go through this process we're talking about, which is kind of like an inner transformation, a kind of awakening, coming to consciousness, they experience side effects in their lives. Now, obviously, we like the positive. There's a lot of positive to focus on, but let's not shy away from some of the challenges. Like, did you have relationships that became more difficult? Like, a lot of people, it's their parents or their grandparents. It's really hard to explain some of this stuff, and they think you're like being swept away into a cult or something.
Yeah.
Like, did you have any of that?
Oh my goodness, that was in abundance. In the beginning, it's going to be in abundance. If you're, like I said, I was handed 3/4 of a page worth of all different types of information. So I had learned more in that 6-month, 9-month year period than I feel I had learned my first 33 years of life. And so I'm going to my family, who are, a lot of them are military. A lot of my sisters, I have 5 sisters that all married or they're in a military relationship.
Oh, wow.
And they thought it was crazy, and how could Building 7 come,
Oh, yeah,
was
you get
on
into
fire.
that matter. It's a
Yeah,
real
so-
hot topic.
Right, so there was a lot of arguments. The other thing was, and this is my experience. This isn't for everyone. People may think I'm crazy when I talk about this stuff, but I really feel that we are this multi-dimensional being, and at times when you start to integrate those pieces and aspects of yourself, sometimes you're like in a rowboat and you've got all your guys lined up, and every once in a while someone will switch places and they'll be the guy that's yelling out left,
Yeah.
row, and I feel I had some of my night side kind of step in and take over how I was reacting to things, how I saw things. So there was a lot of arguments with my girlfriend, and we're happy together now. We've gone through all that heartache.
So she went through this with you, essentially.
Oh,
And
absolutely. That was kind of one of the turn-ons.
Is she like on board with it? I mean, how do I put this? Like,
Yeah.
you and she aren't at great odds over this topic now. There's a little bit of like,
Right,
agreement,
absolutely.
or at least
There's, that's a
and let live.
melding of energies. That's, if you stick together with someone for an extended period of time, you're either going to, meld together and have some of the similar beliefs, or you're going to disconnect. And, I think what happened with the separation with my oldest daughter's mom, we were not on the same frequency.
Yeah.
I believed in aliens and loved those shows, and she wanted to watch reality TV.
Mm-hmm.
And to me, this was more reality than that. And it was much more interesting. So we were at odds with a lot of things, and
Mm-hmm.
not to put down anybody that is Catholic, but she was raised that way and was always in this self-doubting, self-loathing kind of like, woe is me, I did wrong, and this and that. So I never stood with that belief ever.
Yeah.
I always viewed myself as this amazing, beautiful, funny, loyal. I believe
You weren't
I had a
going
lot
for
of
the
these-
guilt.
No, I can't go for that. That's just not in my essence. So we
Yeah.
split up, and then my current girlfriend, Amber, we have a beautiful 4-year-old now, and we had a lot of really ugly, horrible, disgusting, if you were looking from the outside looking in, arguments and fights. And I did things that I'm not proud of, but I know those things were needed. It was kind of like all that crud and stuff from your past. It could be this life, another life, whatever, kind of rises to the surface when you need to clear your aura, clear your energy. So you have to deal with it, and I dealt with it in some of the most extreme ways, with lashing out in violent fits where I was breaking things, and just things that I say I'm not proud
So
of.
it's not an easy journey, and
At all.
I mean, some people may have a more blissful, like everything just falls together and their life is perfect. For most people who go through a major change like this, you lose relationships.
Yes.
You strain relationships at best, and you have to be patient with yourself, because there is a lot of like anger that a lot of people go through when they first realize that they've been lied to their whole lives.
Absolutely.
Even if the people telling the lies don't know they're lies, you're being sold on this completely fabricated matrix-like false reality.
Right.
That once you wake up from it, you're not only pissed that it happened, but you're frustrated that people don't get it, and that
Right.
the evidence is right there, and you show it to them, and they're like, "Oh, that's nuts.
Yeah.
Where's your hat? Your tinfoil hat?" And that's the kind of thing that is very frustrating, and that's where the spiritual process, when you go from like truth warrior to peaceful Zen kind of state where you don't need to go out and change everybody's mind.
Right.
You're more just going to live your truth.
Yeah.
And I feel like, just we've reconnected. Harold and I were friends many years ago, and we've been in touch online and on the phone since then. But this is just last week was the first time we saw each other in probably like 8 years, 7 years.
Well, the wedding.
That's right, 5 years. So he came to my
Yeah,
wedding,
yeah.
and that was after you had your change.
Right.
But yeah,
Yeah.
we haven't really been around each other that much. But I've been following you on Facebook, and I've been seeing a little of that transition. Like, you see people go through that phase where they're like throwing out all these ideas and trying to convince
Yeah.
people, to eventually you get to a place where you're just more like, here's what I'm doing, and it's
You
more
live
like
your life.
Yeah, everyone else gets to do what they're doing, but hey, come over to this side of things if you want to check out some of these possibilities.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's a journey that a lot of people are familiar with. A lot of people that are following my stuff know what I'm talking about. But for those of you out there who haven't, in your experience, had some huge change where you're totally giving it all up your old beliefs and you're looking into this whole new reality, I talk to guys like Harold, and I try and bring people on who can sort of show what it's like and give everybody a sense of, hey, this is not that scary of a thing. This isn't that hard to do. It actually is inevitable once you get to a certain point. You can't stop it. You can't go back.
Yeah,
you couldn't ever believe any of that stuff again.
It's kind of funny when people are like, oh, I'm not into that. And I'm sitting there thinking like, man, it's so into you. Like, it's so into you. Like, only if you knew.
You haven't seen it yet, obviously.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's the issue, is so many people have not been exposed to, you know, whatever you want to call it, new age information and whatever. And I don't even like to put too many labels on things, but we do, just to kind of prove a point. Because not everybody's
to differentiate.
You know, wants to watch exactly what they say. You know, these are spells, these are words. You know,
it's very powerful.
Right, it's very powerful stuff. But at times we can use them. Like, you know, we can use curse words. Like, I can say that's effing great, or I can say F that, and there's two different connotations, two different intentions behind it. But the thing is, when you wake up, it's so much easier to kind of fall back asleep, and you know, go work your 9 to 5 and start eating McDonald's again and play a victim and just stay with that, or you can rise to the occasion that you were sent here to do.
Yeah.
And when you can overcome some of these obstacles, like relationship things, because I guarantee you, at least half of the people that have a spiritual awakening, if they're in a deep committed relationship, lost that relationship.
Unless that person happens to be going through it at the same time.
Right.
It's almost inevitable.
Which is exactly. And you know, the thing is, what we try to do, I believe, is not necessarily force any information down anybody's throat. At this point where we're at, is just be that example, because people have not seen it. They don't know that there's another way of looking at things, thinking about things, approaching things, and reacting to things, which is a huge thing. It's how do you react to situations, and what do you do to calm down whatever negative experience that you see, to be this more even-keeled vibration that you can actually relax in. And we're going to go through huge shifts and changes. And so, you know, I implore people to especially stay off the mainstream media. Don't even pay attention to that stuff. I mean, I occasionally go on there if I want to catch a good laugh. Like, I'll go on O'Reilly's show or something when I'm scrolling through channels, when I watch TV. And I'm like, see what this, you know, jackass is talking about now. And you can find and discern some pieces of truth that come out of that stuff. But again, it's all discernment. And, you know, just feeling your gut, your heart, operating from your heart. And, you know, I guess one piece of advice that I can give to your audience that's helped me, you know, within 10 seconds, both times, you know, again, as a server, sometimes your customer that you took care of and know they were going to leave you a good tip would take off with the credit card receipt. And so you can't get your money if you don't have a credit card receipt. Now, the restaurant's going to get paid, but your tip, you can't just declare whatever you think it's going to be. So you do your due diligence, you look around the table, you look around check presenters, menu boxes, things like that. You go outside, make sure they didn't take off yet. And so 2 times has happened where I did all of that, and you know, I had to take a step back, because obviously we live in a world right now where money is a big thing, and if we can kind of operate in a way that brings in more money, we can do these other projects. But anyway, to get back to what I did, and you could do this at home whenever you're dealing with some kind of experience that you're not necessarily in tune with, or you want to change the outcome of it. So at this area that we called the 10-foot table, where we rolled our silverware and had other menus and things, I told myself that I would have another customer that would come in that's going to tip me double and everything's going to be okay. But this is exactly what I did. And I did this in breath, with intention. Hands together at my chest. 1 breath in is going to be your absorb. Your hold after you have your breath in is going to be the process, and don't worry about the minute details of how your chemical computer is going to process it. And then last is your exhale, that's your release. Release the situation, let it go, don't worry about it. So both times I did this just like this. Smile on my face, and I'm about to walk away from the 10-foot table, And then my manager, actually the first time was a coworker. Harold, are you missing your credit card receipt?
There
I
it
found
was.
this over there. And I'm like, wow, awesome. Second time it happened, same restaurant, same, pretty much exact same thing. Walk away, and as I'm walking away, and again, both within 10 seconds or just instantly after this happened, the manager comes out of the kitchen door. Harold, are you missing a credit card receipt? I found this on the floor.
Yeah.
So how I reacted, now other people, maybe me back in the day at Boston's, you know, where we used to work at, I probably would have been pissed. I would have been cursing them people. I would have been upset. And I probably would have never found those credit card receipts. But had I not changed, you know, like this time I changed my frequency. I said, you know what, you know, you can tell when you walk into a room and there's bad blood, or, you know, the tension is very thick. You can cut it with a knife. That's a saying.
Yeah.
You know, so you can feel the energy when you walk into a room. And everybody's got these negative things going on or whatever. So you can also feel when you walk into a place that has a bunch of children at play, and then you want to play, and you walk in, it's very uplifting energy. So, you know, we can feel energy. It's measurable.
Yeah. And it's important to recognize that we can change how we feel.
Yes.
A lot of people get trapped in their feelings and they have no control over it. And time, of course, wears it down, and you get distracted and you remember other things that you like and are happy about. But I try and teach this to my kids because my kids get really upset about stuff. And I didn't know how to do this as a kid. I wish someone had tried to teach me this.
Yeah.
Like, you can change how you feel. Yeah. Meditation is a tool for doing that. If you practice meditation, it becomes much easier to do this because you're with your breath so much more, and being with your breath is exactly it. That's how you change how you feel.
Yes.
You go back to breath. We should talk more, but we're going to do several locations, as I understand. We're going to be going around to a few other places in San Antonio, and we're going to talk more about the sort of what comes next after the awakening. How does life change? How do you make your living if you don't want to have to go work for the rat race your whole life? And Harold's got a great agorist story, so we're going to talk more about that soon. So stay tuned, everybody.